All right, guys, so I hate to say it again, but some mistakes were made at the 100K, just like we did at the 50K. So our game plan going into this run was nothing new in our bodies and to stick to our game plan. The game plan coming off the 50K was this is just a training run for us. Like, yes, it's at a race. Like, we went to the Miakonda Trail Ultra up in Toledo, but at the end of the day, it was just a training run for us. It wasn't like our A1 race for the year. So we were like, let's just stick to the game plan. We're not here to win. We know we're just a training run. Well, we get there and everything's going great. We get like 5K in, 10K in, 15K in, I mean, all the way up to 50K in. Everything is going as smooth as it possibly could go. I'm talking like the crew that we brought up there, it's almost everybody's first time working in a situation like that. People are figuring out what they're supposed to do. I'm getting in and out like a freaking NASCAR. Like, everybody's scrambling, just figuring things out as the day goes. We're holding great pace. We're staying in the top 10 of the field almost all day long. So because in a race like this, and when you're taking on like long feats like this that are stretched over such a long period of time, it can literally take one little thing to throw you off. And your job is to not let that one little thing compound and turn into more issues and yada yada. I failed at doing that. So I step on a route at like, I think 22 miles in, something like that. It tweaks my left foot. So I come into our aid station and I'm like complaining about my foot or whatnot. And the crew's like, hey, we got Tylenol, we got ibuprofen. So first I take 2 extra strength Tylenol. Mind you, I don't take like Tylenol, ibuprofen, rarely ever. So I take 2 Tylenol, and then Cassidy was like, well, hey, ibuprofen's an anti-inflammatory. I was like, well, that sounds better. So I take 5 ibuprofen on top of that, which for me, like normally, like back in the day, if I'm hungover, I'm like, that's perfect amount and I'm good for the day. Well, I take those, foot starts feeling better. I get a couple more loops in, and like 2-3 hours pass and I'm like, hey, should I keep taking these, just like preventative measure or whatever? They're like, yeah, but let's wait like 4 hours. So when that 4 hours comes up, I take another round. So that sets the scene where we get at about, I want to say maybe 32 to 35 miles in at this point. Well, those are all PR miles for me. Like, the furthest that I've ever ran on my feet is 33 miles up until this day. So I'm pumped about how I'm feeling, just like the way my body's reacting, that we're keeping to the game plan, that we're staying on the top of the field. And we also bring up the idea of getting pizza. I've never run on pizza. So I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but I was all for it. Like, Papa John's, hell yeah, let's do it. So we get Papa John's, I put some Papa John's down, and I just start to get like a little bit of heartburn and stuff, but it's nothing major. Like, I'm still cruising, everything's going good. We, when we get back from doing the loop after the pizza, I was complaining about this heartburn, and the thought of the ibuprofen or Tylenol or whatever, like, it didn't even cross my mind. It wasn't even an option of like what could be causing this discomfort. But after I stop, I'm like, hey, instead of water, let's change it up. I drink a little bit of Coke. I don't drink pop at all, like ever. So now I not only have pizza in my system, ibuprofen, Tylenol, I add Coke to the mix. So we keep moving. I'm starting to slow down a little bit, but once again, I'm just thinking that it's like heartburn and I'll just run through it. So it starts to get dark outside, and I want to say it's maybe like 45-ish miles, something like that, I tweak my foot again, the same foot. And when I get back into camp, I'm like, hey, we got to take my foot up. Like, I rolled it pretty good this time, the same foot, it's like throbbing now. So the solution was one more round of ibuprofen and Tylenol. Horrible idea. This is where things went south in a hurry. So I take those, we tape my foot. Kyle, who was like first time crew member at this race, he does the worst tape job that you can possibly imagine. It basically was the equivalent of like a toddler grabbing stuff and just wrapping a Christmas bow around somebody's foot and calling it a day. So I take off running with that. I'm like, at this point, the heartburn, what I think is heartburn, my foot, like, things are starting to stack up. It's dark now, I got a headlamp on, And the mental aspects are starting to just kind of like take their toll a little bit. I'm worrying about all these little things because, mind you, like that one step on the route has now compounded into all these additional things. So I get back on a loop that I ended up having to like walk half of it. And I'm telling everybody, I'm like, hey guys, like, something's not right. I'm not feeling good. And their job as my crew is like, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, we're here to do it. If we hurt, if we feel good, if we're sick, if we're happy, if we're sad, like, we're just here to get the job done. So they did a phenomenal job of just trying to push me and keep me going, because at this point, the thought of all of these like medicines and stuff didn't even cross anybody's mind. It was just like, hey, it's time, let's take another round. So Cam ends up strapping on his shoes and headlamp. He goes out for a loop with me. He's like really pushing me. I force myself to throw up a couple times. When I throw up, I like have my eyes closed and I throw up and I like look at the last second. I was like, that looked red. And you can hear Cam on the video that we took, which we might release the video. It's pretty graphic, so I don't know if we will, but on the video you can hear Cam say, yep, that was red.
Yeah, that's red.
That is red.
But in that moment, like when you're in an environment like this, everything is such like fast paced and it's go, 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 go. Nobody's really, especially with it being our first time, we're not thinking logically. So I was like, well, it's probably the pizza sauce. I only ate like a slice and a half of pizza. So the thought of it being pizza sauce was probably out the window.
No, I don't think it's blood. I think it's pizza sauce.
Oh God.
So it turned out to be blood, but we start running. I throw up a couple more times. We can't really see what it is, but I'm just like hoping that I can just hack whatever this is out. We're running. I'm like getting to the point that I can only jog for like a very short amount of time at a really slow pace, and my heart rate is like continuously climbing, even running slow. Well, we finished that loop. Maybe I think we did 2 loops or 3 loops together, and then we get back and I'm like, guys, something's up. Like, so Dakota joins a loop with us and we go out, and I'm at the point that I can like, you know, only run for a short amount of time, and then I'm walking. So Cam's like, hey, I'm gonna go make a phone call real quick. And he's still doing his job of like not wanting to worry me, you know, trying to keep pushing me through this. So I don't know what he's going to do, but he walks away from us. Me and Dakota continue to walk the first half of this loop, and I'm telling him like, dude, let's try to run, and I couldn't. And then we would walk and I'd have to stop even walking. And it just felt like I couldn't breathe. Like when I would take a deep breath, nothing was like actually getting past like here. I had pain in like my sternum and like my diaphragm, and there was just like the feeling of throw up sitting like at the bottom of my throat. So I stop at an aid station. I try to take pickle juice. I'm drinking water. The water's making it worse. I try to drink like scorching hot chicken broth at one point, which was miserable. But I'm trying anything. Cam, we go sit on this bench, me and Dakota. Cam comes back, and at this point we're like 55 miles in. So mind you, this is only a 62-mile race. Like I am at the finish line essentially. Like 6 miles is, you know, like a warm-up morning for me, and I'm like, it's frustrating me that I cannot get this last 6 miles down. I'm like, dude, no matter what's going on, you should be able to get out 6 miles. So I'm like trying to stay in that mind frame, but it just wasn't happening. Like my body was just done. So Cam comes back and he's like, hey, I sent the video to my doctor friend. She says you need to call it, like you need to go to the hospital, dude. You might have internal bleeding. Like we way overdid it with the ibuprofen. And at this point, like we've kind of pieced the story together. Like this could be an ibuprofen, Tylenol type of problem. So after he tells us that, we're like, dude, I mean, do we just have to quit? And we walk off like halfway through that loop and we go back to camp, and I lay down and it's like straight black from there. Like it's very PC and fuzzy from Saturday night when we left that race at 55.2 miles all the way through. This is Saturday night. I get home at like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m., something like that. I just go to sleep on the chair in my living room. I don't even make it upstairs. My wife doesn't even know I'm home. She comes downstairs. They've told her what happened. She's kind of freaking out. The next day even, like I can't shake this stuff. She's like, let's go to the hospital. I'm like, I'll sleep it off. The next morning I wake up, it's not going away. My son, it's his birthday, he opens his gifts. I'm up for like an hour, I'm back to sleep. So finally Sunday, I go to the hospital at like 5 o'clock. They tell me, hey, you definitely overdid it on the Tylenol and the ibuprofen. They give me some medicine. Mind you, Saturday night, Sunday, my mental game was shot. Like, I'm thinking about like, man, I got to cancel this Airbnb that I got for this 100-miler. You know, that's the limit. Like, now I know I just did all that for no reason. Like, I'm beating myself to death. I go to the hospital, I'm feeling better. Sunday I go home, go to sleep. I wake up Monday and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you had way more left in the tank. It was one mistake that stopped you from completing the 62-mile run in like the best condition you could possibly have hoped to be in. Because as I'm like throwing up and stuff, I'm like jumping and like bending my knees, showing like I'm telling them like, dude, my legs feel great. There's just something else going on. So I say that to say, even though like that should have been the point that I'm like, if I can't finish 62, how are you gonna finish 100? I had to take a step back and be like, okay, but I had more gas in the tank. The problem was I didn't stick to the game plan once again, and I decided to make like a game day decision and put something in my body that I'm not used to, instead of being a professional about it and going about it how these professionals do, to where it's like, this is what I'm putting in my body no matter what. If I want to eat it, doesn't matter. If I want to eat it, like, that's what I'm doing. This is the plan, that's it. And that's the difference between the people that get the job done and the people that make these dumb mistakes. So thankfully that happened on a training run. And by Monday, like, I was telling everybody like, hey, I know I can do this 100 now. So now we're back in the right like mindset, and we have 1 month to recoup. Feet are already good, legs are good. This is what, Tuesday? So I'm already like back to tomorrow. I'll be in the gym working out, and we have a month to attack this 100. So now we have a lot to go off of. And at this point, if we mess it up, it is no fault of anybody's but our own. But we've put in the time, you know, we've made the mistakes. So now hopefully we can give you guys another update in like a month of us crushing this 100-miler that we have been working so hard towards. And not just me, like, my job's easy, I just gotta go run. Everybody's been putting in work, figuring out what they're supposed to do, how this is gonna go, and I'm excited for it to pay off for everybody. So we'll see you guys in a month, and we will come back with nothing new in our body, I promise.